you're welcome to the faculty. It's interesting to be here on Delta Broadcasting Service Television. Today's faculty is going to be very interesting and incisive. We're looking at a very topical issue on leadership and governance in Rivers State. Of course, if you're joining us, this is Delta Broadcasting Service Television of Saba, and the faculty is a public affairs program of Delta Broadcasting Service Television. Two very wonderful gentlemen are going to be doing a discourse with me on the studio today in relation to leadership, the political leadership and governance in Rivers State. And of course, to my immediate left, you have Comrade Henry Wanzi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Meshek, for having me,
And
good afternoon, Nigerians.
First, Comrade Chukwu, also welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon, viewers.
Yes, Rivers State has been in the news for a long time now, and of course, since the inception of this administration. The coming of Simi Fubara as governor of Rivers State was heralded by a large affirmation by the electorate in Rivers State. But after just less than a month in power, the issues of leadership began to bear on him. The issue of godfatherism and, of course, what is expected from mentor and mentee in a leadership situation. Fast forward to the present day reality. The government and the center decided that, having seen all the intricacies and power play that has been happening in Rivers, they decided that it's now time for a state of emergency. Nigerians shouted hue and asked questions about the need for an emergency, state of emergency in Rivers State, considering the fact that nothing serious has actually happened to contravene the security situation as expected, that we would have needed a state of emergency. But then they asked questions relating to states where security breaches are very vibrant and paramount that should have needed a state of emergency, like Plateau State, Plateau State, Benue State, Kaduna State, and you name it. But however, moving forward, the reality is now on the ground, and the certain former chief of air staff, or if I'm not mistaken, chief of naval staff, has been in the saddle of leadership in Rivers State. I'm talking of Air Vice Marshal Ibas, who has taken responsibility. And news emanating, although debunked yesterday, was that he invited the governor and deputy governor of Rivers State to come and answer questions relating to their stewardship. Unconstitutional, so say a lot of people. The constitutionality and unconstitutionality of the Rivers State government has been called into question a lot of strata. Senior advocates, members of the bar bench, journalists, gurus of industries, captains of industries have come to ask the question, was it really necessary for you to impose a state of emergency in Rivers State? Does it reflect the true situation of what is on the ground? All that is going to be done today in the studio. It's going to be dissected in the studio by my two guests here. I will start with Comrade Nwanzi. Well, a barrister in waiting, no doubt, but Comrade, you are right now. You've seen it all, you've heard it all, you've read it all, and of course, what's your take on the situation in Rivers State?
Yes, the case of Rivers State is what I would always call a comedy of errors, a theater of the absurd. It is both ludicrous and lugubrious at the same time, because one would say, not having to take sides with Fubara, I'm not a fan of Fubara, I'm not a fan of Wiki or the political dramatis personnel, as it were. But the problem, or rather what I'm against, is about constitutionality, is about the rule of law that stands the test of time, because whatever you do today would also affect tomorrow. Now, I've seen a lot of people who have made case for this issue of the Fubara removal or suspension, whatever name you call it, and they alluded to General Olusegun Obasanjo retired in 2004 when he did that in Plateau State by dismantling Joshua Dare as governor and the state legislature and all that, and it also followed 2 years later in Ekiti State. The truth of the matter is that when that Rivers State matter grew, or rather started, we saw it as a sword of Damocles that was hanging on the skies. It started when the godfather was now estranged with the godson. I'm talking about the former governor, Nyesom Wike, now the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. And so the whole thing started from when Wike ensured that his protege, that is this then Sim Fubara, was hoisted on the people of Rivers State. Sim Fubara was not like the choice of the people of Rivers State. Sim Fubara was not the best of the PDP candidates. But the then governor ensured that this guy was enthroned with the mandate, or rather with the aim to be able to continue to rule Rivers State through the back door. And that was the plan, that was the script. Unfortunately, a few weeks after the marriage, there was already a problem in Paradise. And so we saw them speaking with discordant tones here and there. There were issues of money being asked that you bring social money and the rest of it. But of course, you know, there is no honor among thieves. And before you know what's happening, the state legislature was also enmeshed in the crisis. And there was a plan by those who were loyal. Of course, almost all the apparatus of state were single-handedly handpicked by Nyesom Wike. So what do you expect? He who calls the piper, plays the piper, calls the tune. So of course, they were bound to respond and not be loyal to him. And that's how the political debacle started. And of course, there was this counterclaim of impeachment and non-impeachment and the bombing of the state legislature. And we knew it was a time bomb that was expected, to explode, to ignite. And what happened? Onlookers looked, and nobody could do anything to salvage the situation. The president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, harped on the Supreme Court judgment that said that the local government of Rivers State is illegal and that the state legislature as it stands is not properly constituted. As such, there is no government in place in Rivers State. And the president now capitalized on the situation, like we call it the proverb, give a dog a bad name to hang it, and capitalize on Section 305 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to declare a state of emergency. Fast forward, he now appointed his one-time crony, Air Vice Marshal Ibas, to be the sole administrator. I find it also very funny that local government funds were seized from Rivers State because it was said that the local government in place was unconstitutional and was illegal. Fast forward to when Ibas, the sole administrator, took the mantle of leadership, and all of a sudden, an unconstitutional government, a controversial government, the funds that were hitherto seized were now released. Okay. And before you know what is happening, he now sacked all the political appointees of the state and appointed administrators for the local government. Unconstitutionality upon unconstitutionality, illegality upon illegality, and you cannot stand.
Now, talking about legality and illegality of government and governance, I'm back to you. We're looking at the legality of the government that was unconstitutionally foisted on the people of Rivers State. I'm talking of that, the government of the administrator. And the premise under which the state of emergency was pronounced by the government, a judgment by the Supreme Court that put a caveat on the local government and administration. There's a lot of contradiction, and almost I want you to throw light on this. The legislature, the 28 House of Assembly members, in principle agreed, I saw it on video, that they are now members of the APC. That means the Jump Chief. And of course, they said they have collected their cards or whatever, they are members of the APC. That means they are constitutionally, they are supposed to have left their position. But the Supreme Court reversed. I've never seen a judiciary like this. Let's look at the legalities and illegalities of the drama in Rivers State. Pick all the legalities and illegalities from the impeachment to the state of emergency to the illegality of the House of Assembly member to the local government elections and so forth and so on. I can't understand what is happening in Rivers State.
Having looked at law itself, something came to my mind that I've been working on that I call civil evil. It's an evil that has been, carved out, planned into the system that the very smart ones can take advantage of. And I'm starting on that note to call it that what is happening in Rivers State is what I call the civil evil. Now, the civil evil is the fact that we said that we have decamped, we are members of APC. But in law, these things don't hold water.
Yes, exactly.
So where is the evidence that we are members of APC? Our names are not on their record and all of that. It's true they've gone to the court for an affidavit, which is also a legal tender, you know, but it doesn't suffice, because we're saying that we are members, we have gone to do this, we have gone to do that, but our names are not in the books yet. So the law took it that what makes someone a member is that you are a card-carrying member, your name is on the record, but their names were not there, apart from the affidavit that they swore that they are not members of APC. So the court took advantage of that. Otherwise, by saying I am no longer a member of this, and then taking an affidavit, which is also a legal document, that should have sufficed. But, you know, like I said, what will make you a member is what will make you a member. That is, your name is on the list of membership, you're a card-carrying member. These lawmakers were not.
Yeah.
That is on one side. So, again, one would also say that the governor didn't do his work well. You see, if there's a difference between political leadership and governance. Yeah. And I think that's what we have to begin to learn. You know, they call us nascent democracy, but I don't think that because the American people are over 200 years, we have to be 200 years before we get to the level where they are. Because there's what we call leverage in the system. We can leverage on the experiences, what they've gone through in their journey, their democratic journey or political journey, to learn and advance our own much faster. So first, I want to say again that the government of Fubara didn't do their work well, because in our system, affidavit serves as a legal document.
Exactly.
So that should have been a very strong point in the court of law. Then again, along the line, I heard that he also withdrew his case. And that is why I said at the beginning of this discourse that, see, if you're ready for fight, if you're into war, if you're fighting, let's fight. If you want to make peace, let's make peace. You cannot be fighting and looking for peace, because along the line, it looks like Fubara was going for peace, he was going for war. You know, a man who is divided among himself, a kingdom that is divided among itself cannot stand. So is a man, so is a cause. If you're going forward and backward, if you're neither cold nor hot, the Bible said God will spit you out of his mouth. You know, Fubara was neither cold nor hot with regards to this situation. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. And so they took advantage of the situation that this man is not...
It's inconsistent.
Yeah. And then again, people should understand that there's a difference between when you are looking for authority to exercise power and when you have been given that authority to exercise power. You know, leadership is involved in both. But one, you're seeking opportunity to lead, to control, to influence governance. It's an act, it's a process. But there's another one that involves an action, which is governance. As a leader, when you have been in a when you have come into a position of governance, you must know that now you have the authority to exercise power, and you must exercise power well and on time. When you delay, the enemies will take advantage of it. So the Supreme Court may not have done something out of law. The Supreme Court cannot, you know, we cannot say they have been illegal in their judgment. But we can say that the system took advantage of the fact that we don't have a system. The law took advantage of the fact that we don't have a system. We are influenced. We do things as, you know, according to the temple of those in power. If we're asked to go left, we go left. Exactly. Tomorrow, this same issue will happen and Supreme Court will give another judgment, because it has also happened before. And none of us here, even as we sit to analyze and criticize the fact that Fubara was not consistent in his approach, a similar incident had happened before and the court gave its judgment in a different direction. So why is the case of Fubara different? Why is the case of Rivers State different? These are the things we are going to learn going forward. And like I said, in civil evil, there are clauses that are attached to the law that those who are smart will go and take advantage of and use against those who are not smart enough to see it ahead. Because the only legal standing for them was that these people are not members of those political parties they have declared themselves to be members of. And so, the law is blind. It is the evidence you produce or provide that they use in passing judgment.
The blindness of the law has become a serious issue in Nigerian politics. A lot of people have taken over the manipulation, the manipulation and manipulative tendencies of the law, and of course the institutionalization of our judiciary to their own advantage, and that is the crisis management situation we find ourselves in Rivers State. Still looking at the Rivers State issue, there have been a lot of controversies relating to pro-Wike and pro-Fubara agitators. Some call them the same crowd rented for the same different amount for different days, and of course it's not out of place for Nigerians to feel the same way, because the people have always made a mockery of their situation, not minding. All they are concerned about is what they can get out of who has sent them. Moving forward, looking critically at the issues bedeviling Rivers State presently, what are the democratic implications, and of course, the economic implications of the state of emergency in Rivers State?
Yes, it's very simple. While I want to, in a way, differ from what Chika said, is that we have a system, not that we don't have a system. What we have is a weak system. And the part I'm going to agree with him is on the issue of ambiguities. That it is like that. A smart lawyer is a lawyer who knows the law. Not just then a good lawyer is a lawyer who knows where to look in the law. Okay? Now, he has said it. Ambiguities abound in our laws. And so, a good lawyer who knows where to look will look at those areas where you have the ambiguities and lacuna. And that's why you see most of the cases that are being adjudicated on is based on technicalities. Yeah. You don't see it black and white. And so the best way, just like the Edo State Tribunal case, sorry I'm digressing, it was based on technicalities. Okay? So now the issue of Rivers State, like he clearly stated, they came out on air and said they had already decamped. Everybody has seen that. And everybody says a gross violation of Section 109, subsection 1G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. But where is the proof that these persons are card-carrying members? Their names are not on the register. And so where did FUBRA, err? FUBRA went ahead to work with about 4 legislators, being led by ADC here, while the other one loyal to the Minister of Federal Capital Territory and former governor of Rivers State, Martins Amowole, was with the other 27. And he went ahead to present a budget, which is a matter of law, the appropriation, to the 4, which was an aberration. He should know better. His advisors should know better. And that was the beginning of the end for him. In as much as you have said these ones are not, they said they are no longer members of this thing. All you needed to have done was to go and prove, have a prima facie evidence before a court of competent jurisdiction to prove that these persons have violated Section 109, subsection 1G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which you didn't do.
But why he does that, what would he have done? Would government have paused to wait for him to go
what
to
he would have done, what he would have done is either he buys time or he presents the budget to the entire legislators. Sometimes you need to be very smart. Even the attempt to have burned the legislature was not a smart move. Sometimes these people surround themselves with nitwits, with numbskulls, who do not have what it takes, and they tell you, and you just want to you want to hear what they have to say. People you should have that will advise you are people who will tell you what you don't want to hear. Exactly. If you want to succeed, don't bring people who will always you are doing well, you are doing. No, they are digging holes for you. So some of these people, sometimes you don't blame people at the top, because people they surround themselves with are the people who give them wrong advice at the end of them. So as regards to what you were talking about, the issue of the economic implication, the political whatever implication, it is very simple. Like I said, when something happens, like people are alluding to the fact that General Olusegun Obasanjo in 2004 declared a state of emergency in the plateau and removed a constitutionally elected governor, Joshua Deriye, because he had issues with him then. You know, Deriye later went to prison for corruption and the rest of it, even the state legislators. In 2006, forward in Ekiti State, he had problem with Ayo Fayose, and you saw what happened. Ayo Fayose was removed. Deputy governor was also removed, and the speaker Adeyemi was brought in as the governor. And you saw what happened. People have also forgotten in 2013, when Goodluck Ebele Jonathan declared a state of emergency in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. But that was the only time we had a president. I drew up the precedent at the time this was declared. From 1962, when the Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, declared a state of emergency in the Wide West, in the West, you know. Jonathan was the only person who left the apparatus of government in place, the governor and the state legislators. So what it means is that the president can now hide under the guise of Section 305, or like for any other reason, because if you look at what Section 305 says, A to G, you will see it. If there is the federation is at war, if any part of the country there's a public order, disturbance, as it were, or many clauses that the president can hide under, like he hid under this, Section 305 to declare a state of emergency. And like I said, well, say it whatever you want to say. We may argue from now to tomorrow that the state of emergency is neither here nor there. But what we are against is the illegality of having to remove the state governor and the state legislators. That one, I don't even need to even dust my books to know that that is an illegality. So the implication is that tomorrow the president can also declare a state of emergency in any place.
That is it.
If he is not satisfied, like in Osun State, that we had
satisfied.
If he has a probable cause,
and that is why we must state it clearly.
And that is what we are saying.
What he has declared, whether we can change it or not, it's illegal, because even the section you're making reference to does not say when a governor and a minister is having issues they are fighting in the state.
Nobody
you can come in.
Nobody.
What was it? The insecurity.
Did you read the president broadcast? There was no mention of even the minister of the federal capital. It was just the governor. That the governor has turned himself into a despot. And I still don't blame the president. That's why I say sometimes don't give room for all those people to capitalize on opportunity. What did the governor do? You said it yourself. He didn't handle the situation very well. There is problem here and there.
But we
you now compounded it.
Problems.
That is the problem. That is welcome to Nigeria. Welcome to Nigeria. So the implication is that the president can capitalize it, like what we say, give a dog a bad name and hang it, and declare a state of emergency in Benue, in Plateau. Look at what is going on in Plateau State. If there's any place you are supposed to even declare a state of emergency, it's Plateau State.
And Benue.
And Benue State. People can no longer go to their farm. People are being killed as I'm talking to you now. People are displaced from their homes.
In the last 2 weeks, 144 people have been killed in Plateau State. Muftan came out for a cry for help. In Benue State, there are over 70 people have been killed. And now we have a president that has gone on a medical tourism.
He didn't say medical, sir.
No, he didn't.
No. Let's be very factual.
Okay.
He said he's going for a midterm assessment of his administration in France, in far away France.
Are you supposed to?
He did not see Okomu. He did not see Okomu game reserve. He did not see Obudu Cattle Ranch. He did not see Yankari game reserve.
I'm going to take you on that.
He didn't even see Kuru Jos.
If we want to talk about
France,
he went to France.
Not medical tourism.
Now, in Sena clients, in this kind of situations where your country is on the threshold of capitulating on security issues, with killings in the North Central, it behoves of you to run back home to come and at least address the people of that state, or address the nation. But none of that is happening. If it's a bilateral meeting, we would have seen clips of his meetings with conglomerates and what have you. But however, let's go on a short break, and we're going to be back and we'll throw more light on what the president's impact could have been, and if what he did was right. Let's take a short break. looking at the issues of government and governance in Rivers State. And of course, I've got Chika Omoso with me in the studio, and also Henry Wanze to do justice to this discussion. Straight away to Chika Omoso, we're looking at the implications of governance as vis-a-vis a country in crisis, and of course the president out of the country. With so much, every day we continue to hear new openings on the illegality of Iba's government and the overbearing influence. Before I go to the president, let me take you on this. The overbearing influence of Evans Marshal Ibas. You come into power as an administrator that was unconstitutionally imposed on the people. Now you start to destroy the structure of the government, of the past government. If a governor has been removed, that does not mean that everybody that was appointed or elected around him should be removed as well. But he is removing each and every person that was appointed by the Simi Fubara administration. And that is not where I have an issue. He is now appointing loyalists of Nyesom Wike. Are we not making a mockery? Are we not setting a wrong precedence in this country?
You know, the issue with Nigeria is not about awareness. It's not knowledge. It's about action. Our people don't act, and when they act, they don't. I think a lot of us need to be more enlightened and get involved in politics so that our actions, you know, like they say, action speaks louder than voice. Our actions will speak louder than some of these analyses we are giving on TV and television that, I don't know, on radio and papers, newspapers. And these game players, I don't think they are listening. I think our getting involved will speak louder than all of these analyses, because it's a very bad precedent. And we have heard that absolute power corrupts absolutely. These guys, they don't care. Nobody is checkmating them. Even away from the executive, look at the way they gave sanction to the president's decree of state of emergency. I call it decree because it's not supposed to be so. The House of Rep and the Senate that is supposed to watch what the executive is doing are using voice vote. And the legal people in this country, the so-called SANS, the Nigerian Bar Association, the NGOs were seated quietly. Somebody was talking of Serap taking them to court. And they asked the question, how many judgments have Serap really obtained thus far?
Let's leave Serap. The thing is the locals. Serap has the locals to even institute the case. The point now is Nigerian Bar Association, for purpose of context, Nigerian Bar Association kicked against the state of emergency. As I speak to you now, the NBA conference that was supposed to hold in Rivers State in Port Harcourt was moved to Enugu State.
What impact has it made on the system?
No. He's sending a message. Well, I wanted you to know by saying that they didn't say anything.
Yeah, I've heard all of that. Yeah. I'm talking of something that will move someone to reverse a wrong action. That is what I'm saying. The legislator, instead of taking vote, making quorum to begin to, they gave a voice vote.
But of course, you know what
we are quiet.
You know what's happening.
So I am saying the political culture in Nigeria needs to change. And the best way to change it is to send these people to really go back.
Retirement.
Retire. Don't retire to Senate. Somebody after being governor, you retire to Senate. We need some young people, some vibrant people. Some sound people. It's annoying, it's appalling that people now retire with our position of governance. You send people there who are rich, who are elderly, to go and represent us. People are not ready to work. People are not ready to make legacy, to make name. They have made the names, and they are not ready to work for the people, and you can't ask them questions. If you ask a young man who is your mate, you know, all of us, even with the powers and the money he may get, but he knows that there's a future well ahead of him. Some of them are retiring to their death with the position that they are supposed to use to work for the people. They can't work, and nobody is talking. We need to sit up. In some countries, things that change governance or change administration is not up to the things that are happening in our country. And all of us are comfortable. We're not even supposed to be here talking on TV, because the streets, the government ought to hear us that these things you're doing, this is not the way it is. The Constitution is meant to guide us. So we must all follow the Constitution and do things properly. How can you wake up, declare state of emergency, then when it gets to the House of the National House of Assembly, how do I call it now? You know, where it's supposed to, they're supposed to look into this matter carefully. You now pass a voice vote. I mean, and everybody just goes back to.
You know, it makes me laugh when you talk about the National Assembly. What were you expecting?
Do we have the?
Do
we have a National Assembly? Because if we need to look at the trajectory of putting in place a state of emergency, the president has to seek the consent of the national. You have to write to the National Assembly before that can be carried out. Reference it to the scenario in Rivers State. President Nwanze, do we really have a National Assembly, considering all that has been happening in?
All right,
the system is not there.
I would
just
say,
a weak system.
No, we have a system. We have a system. It's just that it's not working. The system is broken. Or you get me? Yeah. So, like you said, all that you said is about fixing the system. We have a system, and because a society without system is meant to be in chaos, in anarchy. We have a system, but it's broken. So we need to fix it. And I'm going to address some of the issues that you talked about. Now, do we have a National Assembly? Yes, we have a National Assembly. But all I can tell you is that, like I said in one of my works, was that the hallowed chamber has become a hollowed chamber. It has become a mere laughing stock. And let me tell you the scenario. That's why you see, you know, the way this president has planned the whole thing. He learned from his predecessor in office. And you saw what happened when President Muhammadu Buhari came into office the first time. He didn't actually play the game very well. Yeah. And that's why he wanted his own man, which is Lawan, Ahmed Lawan, to be the Senate president. Well, he couldn't. And Saraki outsmarted them. And you saw the problem it caused for them. Then it was as if the National Assembly had some bite. Because the same person who was there was not the same person he installed there. Yeah. Because what they do is install their puppets there. Yes. And that is why the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, ensured that the man who did not even contest the primaries or the position of Senate, who contested for presidential primaries and obviously maybe stepped down, and another person contested as Senate president in the PDP primaries in that zone, he now came and installed that man as his puppet as the Senate president. What were you expecting the National Assembly to do? What we should be asking ourselves, what about the opposition lawmakers? What about those in the Labour Party, those in the PDP, those in the other opposition parties? Couldn't them? Yes. No. Even at that, let me tell you, couldn't them have, if they had the interest of Nigerians at heart, what stage they work out? Let it be on. Let it be in history that the minority or whatever. That's why people say democracy is a tyranny of the majority. It's a tyranny of the majority because the minority would have their say, but the majority will always have their way. Whether the thing is good or correct, you have the highest number. So it's a tyranny of the majority.
I'm looking at it also. We're looking at critically at the implications of institutions. How weak can that be? Because we expected that with the what we know in government, the democracy is government of the people, for the people, and by the people. But we have seen, like he said, a tyranny of the majority over the minority, and I think it's playing out badly for our democracy. What can be done?
It's a bad precedent, and that's why you see me. I'm trying to dodge from looking at what Ibas is doing in Rivers State because I already know that absolutely
corrupt.
Absolutely. You don't want to bring a sole administrator and then he wants to entertain the appointees of the previous. All of you should go. Exactly. If they can remove the House of Assembly members, the elected officials, who are you that they appointed? You get away, let me do my work. Yes. Do it for the 3 months, 6 months. We heard that they even brought it down to 3 months, but that one is not standing because we don't have a National Assembly as it stands. So it's a bad precedent. even the government of the as of now, see, we were in a course somewhere outside this country, and when these young men were taking over some countries, we saw some young political students happy, and we saw the facilitator very angry that you guys, you don't know the experience of, sole administration, this authoritarian leadership, this takeover. You don't know the effect. Why are you guys happy? Well, but we were kind of happy because the democracy that you paint to be very good is not working for us. It is in democracy that they will do a road. Under 1 year, it goes bad. But in this country, you pass some road that the military did many years ago. Okay. At least some of them are standing with some potholes small. Do you understand? So even the democracy is not working, and people are looking for, I think we need to have a new culture of governance of politics. I know politics is influence, leadership is, but this one we are practicing is not working for us. No. If it's going to work for us, we have to do more than we are doing, than sitting on TV and listening to both the ones analyzing and you at home. We need to get involved, and we need to get more enlightened. And please, we need to understand that governance is to make change, to make positive change, to influence the people in the right direction. It's not about what you're going to acquire for the now or for your children's children. It's about making things work for our country. If things are working in this country, a lot of things will stand out for us. All right. There'll be job, there'll be less insecurity, and then all of us will be happy for it.
Yes, literally, it's interesting when you speak like this. It makes our kind of democracy look very easy and achievable, but I think it's a really Herculean task. Are they listening? Are the executive ready to work in with tandem with the legislature? Quite so many questions that need so many answers. I want to appreciate you guys for coming on the program. Thank you, Henry Nwanze, for coming.
Thank you for all
this. Of course, Chika also, thanks for coming. It's been the faculty, and we've looked at government and governance in Rivers State in 3 cases relating to the state of emergency. The faculty will return again tomorrow. Make sure you stay tuned, and of course, enjoy your day.
One of the states in Nigeria that takes governance seriously is Delta State. While Governor Sheriff Oborowori leads from the front with his surprise inspections, his commissioners are also on the field to ensure every project delivers value.
If you have a problem in the field, you must take it as a serious matter.
It's a good thing that the commissioner came to inspect.
We are not only interested in just building roads where people will pass, we're also interested in creating an environment that is livable.
This is one of the biggest jobs here in the Abraka roads. The project is not taking time. We are fast on it. The governor of Delta State is doing a great job.
I appreciate the governor for awarding the contract and the project.
Sheriff, we appreciate his work. We wish him to continue like that. And whenever he comes up again, the community will vote for him.
Delta is a coastal state, so before